The Tar Heels came oh so close to winning a national championship in Coach Davis's first year on the job. The question is, do you trust him to do it at some point in his tenure?
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Friday, July 12th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shea, joined today by our guy, Coach Bill Robinson, the head coach of the Milligan University Buffaloes basketball team and a 2-decade veteran of the Carolina Basketball School. You're joining us at the place to get your Carolina content every single day. I want to thank you for making us your first listen or watch, and send a special shout out to all the everydayers out there and all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord community. We're so glad that you're all here. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sport stops sportsing like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Coming up on the show today, we're going to respond to a Twitter question from one of the many random North Carolina basketball Twitter accounts out there. Asking, do we trust Coach Davis to win a national title at some point in his tenure as the head coach of the Tar Heels? We're going to take a look at Carolina's summer practices that are going on, just get some insight from Coach Rob about what you gain from those opportunities, what you learn about your team, all of that. And then, oh, you better believe we're going to get to story time with Coach Rob. So a fun conversation today. Coach, here's how this whole conversation came up. You and I have talked about this, so you know it, but to catch everyone else up, here I am on Thursday just scrolling through Twitter, and my finger kind of stops on this thing from at UNC Sports Photos, who is Blue Heaven, and it says, do you trust Hubert Davis to win a national title during his tenure as head coach of the Tar Heels? And I was like, okay, whatever, maybe interact with that or think about it. But my eyes were drawn immediately to a response from at Coach Rob Buffs that said 100% no doubt. We'll get into that in just a second. But first, Coach, before we answer the question, I'd like to just acknowledge and ask your thoughts about how insanely difficult it is for anyone to win a national championship.
Yeah, college basketball games are hard to win. I don't care what level you're at. I know I'm at a lower level, but even the games at our level are hard to win. With the amount of technology that's out there right now, with the amount of film that's being watched, as technology increases, the games get harder and harder to win. You have to play better. You have to recruit better. And there's always that element of luck that comes into it too, whether it's a Kawhi Leonard bounce that just happens to go the right way, or whether it's a block charge call that doesn't go your way, and all of a sudden you lose a game. I've had both of those things happen to me. So when it comes down to just, I think college football might be even more difficult because of how detailed things are. And you have guys sitting in the stands filming signs, because if you can get just that little bit of an edge on somebody, then all of a sudden you have a better chance of winning that one game that you really need to win to be able to keep your job. And when they have, 12 games or whatever it is during a season, those games it's magnified compared to a 30 or 32 game schedule, depending on what you're doing. But it's just hard to win games at the college level, and to win a national championship is even that much harder.
And I appreciate all that insight, because I think it's just like, I want to answer the question, but I want to set that context first. Like, Coach, diving into the data just a little bit. The NCAA tournament started in 1939. From 1939 through the present, only 17 coaches have won multiple national championships. Only 6 coaches have won 3 or more. Let me give you the list, folks, just so you have this in your head of what an elite group this is. John Wooden, I think some folks have heard of him. Adolph Rupp, Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Jim Calhoun, and Bobby Knight. That's it. That's the list of coaches who have won 3 or more. That's how insanely difficult this is, that some of the biggest names that have not gotten there, and only the absolute tip top of it have achieved that. And so just to kind of put in a little bit more perspective how crazy this is. So Coach, I look at this Twitter question. The replies are wild, folks. If you dive into this, it's all over the map, from some being Coach Davis's biggest cheerleader to others saying, no, there's no way, and everything in between. So, Coach Rob, as I said, your response to this was 100% no doubt. Why do you feel this way?
First of all, he's my friend, and I'm going to support him regardless. That's the easy answer.
Right.
I'm a Tar Heel fan, and I believe they're going to win a championship. That's the simple, and people don't have to agree with that. I don't really care. But Coach Davis, as a person, as a human being, was told at a young age, hey, you're not good enough to play at Carolina. And he did. And he succeeded. And he not just succeeded, but he thrived. He was told, you're not good enough to play in the NBA. You're too slow. You're not athletic enough. And he's third all time in 3-point percentage in the history of the league. And of course, you go to ESPN, you can't coach. You're just an analyst because you're an NBA player, and you're not good enough to be a college coach, or it's definitely not a head coach. But he's done all of those things, and he's proven himself. And he wants to win a championship. Not only does he want to, he believes he's going to win a championship. And when he believes in something, it's a pretty good track record showing that he can get it done. So I do believe he'll win one. I don't think he has to win one for his legacy or for his personal. I don't think that's it at all. I just think that he understands his ministry. It's a mission of what he's doing, and he's going to do it as hard and well as he can while he has the opportunity to. And he wants to win. He's as competitive as anybody I've ever met, and that includes Coach Williams. They're just those guys at that level have a different set of what the competitiveness is. And if he wasn't competitive and he wasn't driven, he would never have played at Carolina. He never would have played in the NBA.
100%. I agree with everything you said there. And for the record, my answer would be the exact same to this question as yours was. What's interesting about it to me, Coach, is obviously there are no guarantees that he will do it. But part of this is the nuance of the question itself. And I like the nuance of it. Do you trust Hubert Davis to win a national title? The question is not, make sure you hear this, folks. The question asked was not, will Hubert Davis win? Because that is a harder thing for us to say 100%. We're answering the question, do you trust him? And when that's the question, 100% no doubt, I can get right behind that with you, Coach, because we believe in the person that he is, which obviously I don't know Coach Davis at a deeply personal level like Coach Rob does, but Coach Rob does. He believes in who he is as a human. For those of you who are people of faith like Coach Rob and I and Coach Davis are, that plays a role in it as well. But just who he is as a recruiter, a developer, all of these things lead us to say, yes, there are no guarantees, but do we trust him to do it? And if that's the case, if that's the question, the answer is clearly yes. And let's not forget, oh, by the way, that his Tar Heels, and yes, I know it's like he inherited this team, but they were essentially a bum Armando Bacot ankle away from winning a national championship in his first year. And then this isn't even a conversation. But then you look at it last year. He, in year 3, has them back to a 1 seed. And so it almost feels, Coach, to me, it's kind of like how I feel about Gonzaga. I don't know if you feel this way. It's less a question of if and more a question of when. How do you respond to that?
No, I think it is. And Carolina is different. When you have that Carolina blue on and that Carolina on your jersey, the expectation's different. And he's going to have the best facilities. He's going to have the best access to players. He's going to have the best trainers. He's going to have the best strength conditioning. He's got the best of everything. And when you have that, it's going to lend itself to success. And their expectation that they're going to win. When they walk into a gym, they expect, regardless of who they're playing or where or when or how talented the other team is, they're just expecting to win. And he's got that attitude right now. And he feels very strongly that his team's going to make a run here in the next year.
I love it. So, folks, we'd be curious to hear your answers on this. Hop in the Discord. Let's have some discourse about it. This question, do you trust Hubert Davis to win a national championship while he's at the helm of the North Carolina Tar Heels? Next, we want to have some conversation about the summer practices that have been going on. Carolina has had 4 so far. Adam Lucas, as he always does, has done a great job writing up some tidbits from it and looking into the humanity side of it as well. And so we want to unpack some of that, and we're going to do that coming up in just a second. right after I tell you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, from exhaust kits to LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed or power or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Why? Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. As has been the case for several years now, teams are able to spend some time practicing in the summer instead of waiting for Midnight Madness in October when that comes around to kind of give you an on-ramp into the season. I almost think about it like you get spring practice for football ahead of fall camp, all that kind of stuff. So, Coach, before we get into the specifics of the North Carolina side of this, I just want to ask, at a general big picture level, what are the types of things you're looking to accomplish in an off-season set of practices?
I think you're setting the tone for the season. You want to be as intense as you possibly can, but you have more time. You do have summer classes, but it's different than being in classes. There's no football games going on. There's no baseball game. There's nothing else going on to distract the guys from what they normally are doing on the court in practice. So I think they do want to talk more philosophy stuff. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is how we do this. Instead of just throwing them into a drill and trying to teach things on the go, it does allow you to maybe slow down a little bit. Doesn't mean the intensity's down. Doesn't mean you don't play hard. And I think I read something about 24-second shot clock, speeding the game up a little bit. We've got a transition drill. We play 8-second shot clock. It's just a continuous 3-on-2 11-man drill that everybody does, but we 8 seconds. They can't walk the ball up the floor. They can't wait for that guy who got the rebound. They have to play with that sense of urgency that Coach Williams has talked about for years. But those are the type of things I like to hear. But it does give you a little bit more time. You're still getting out of practice at whatever time, 8 o'clock at night, still light out. So there's still a lot of life to these guys. It gives you time to really connect especially with the new guys, being able to spend some chemistry time too. But maybe a little bit more about who we are and what we do rather than just drilling all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point about the new guys. You've got 11 scholarship players total. 5 of them are a combination of 3 freshmen and 2 transfers. And so you got to get that camaraderie built, as you've talked about. Obviously, they're going to have their beach trip, and that'll help bring some of that together as well. Coach, when you think about it, like, it's not really a separate entity, these summer practices from the fall practices. So as you start to think about like systems and how what you do now is kind of an on-ramp to the fall, what kind of things can happen now that you then don't have to do in the fall, or you don't have to do as much in the fall?
Yeah, like Coach Williams had a defensive series, and they would change from year to year, but you want to spend a lot of time with the intricacy of this is exactly how our defensive philosophies are. So a drill that may be 3 minutes or 5 minutes during the season, we're going to take 15 minutes today and explain exactly what we are trying to accomplish in this drill, the whys, the techniques, and exactly how we're going to do this. Then when it comes practice time in the fall, they already know the drill. They already know the teaching points. Now we can just hammer it. And from Adam Lucas's article and talking about them down to the minute in practice, when that happens in the fall, then they can say, okay, we're going to do X-ray drill, or we're going to do vision drill, and they know exactly what that drill is. No explanation is needed. And then if they do something wrong, you can fix it. You're not trying to teach it initially. That's one of those big benefits of having that time in the summer, because then you can take a drill that's 5 minutes and spend 15 minutes really teaching it.
Yeah, it's almost like this is like a dress rehearsal for actual practices in the fall, like you said, so that you can hit the ground running and not have to spend time. All right, so you're going to go here, and then you pass the ball over there, and then you go stand on the baseline, and then you cut. You don't have to go through all that because it's already been done. I really like that. Just knowing how practice works, installing. Like, would you start installing any of your like offensive sets now, or setting up any of the pieces of that, or would you save that?
Yeah, the Montrose camp coaches, competitors that were in Montrose camp will know what the X-ray drill is too. So I hope they enjoy that one because that's a defensive drill. Definitely, you want to talk about any sets, any things you may be changing, opportunities to be able to maybe put in some actions that you didn't do last year, or reinforce the actions that you did last year, just to remind them. I think there's obviously some stuff that they want to do the same as it did last year, because the article talked about Hubert being able to get some reinforcement from RJ. Hey, that's right, right? That shows me that they're working on some stuff that they did in the past, or maybe stuff that they sat down. He and RJ, you do that with your seniors. You do that with your All-Americans. You sit down and say, hey, what was good? What was bad? What did you like? What did you not like? What do we need to continue to do? What do we need to change? And then give them a little bit of a voice, and that allows them to feel maybe a little bit more ownership when it comes to what they do in the fall.
I wanted to ask you about that. So I'm glad you brought it up with Coach Davis giving a voice to RJ, because what's interesting about that to me, Coach, and I'd love to hear your intentionality as a coach, but what it says to me, I care less about the content of what Coach was asking about or what RJ's reply is. I care more about the intentionality of what it says to everyone else, other players, other staff, other personnel, just the fact that he asked RJ for his approval, or for his like if I'm leading a meeting, I'll often say to my assistant, hey, did I miss anything here? Like, so it's that same kind of thing. So who cares about the content? What does the act of asking RJ say to everyone?
Yeah, well, I became a better coach when I let the guys have some input, whether it's practice, even in games. We were down a point one time and brought them over and said, okay, what do you guys feel most comfortable with? It's a 1-point game. We need to stop right here. We're going to go zone. We're going to throw something different at them. We're going to trap the ball screen. How are we going to defend? And give them the ownership of it. Then, whether it's right or wrong, they're going to make it happen because they feel like they're the ones who made that decision. So I like that. It gives some freedom to RJ to maybe have some input, but also gives him that ownership that says, hey, he really cares about what I think, and I'm going to go out there and play well and prove him right because he allowed me to be involved in the decision making.
One of the things that you and I have already talked about this offseason is, will there be a Harrison Ingram? Will there be a Cormac Ryan? Will there be a Brady Manick? One of these voices who just steps up, holds everyone accountable, brings things together. We've acknowledged that that's just not really who RJ is. It's not his temperament. He is speaking more now, but it's still not a natural thing for him. One of the pieces that really stood out to me in Adam's article was that a voice that started coming out, and a voice that started kind of commanding attention and giving instructions to others, was Elliot Cadeau. Coach, did you see any of that maybe this summer at camp or in other moments that hey, this is our point guard. He's a sophomore now, and he is interested in taking more of a vocal leadership role. Do you see that with Elliot?
Yeah, one of the interesting things watching him at pickup is who makes the arguments when a foul is called. Who's the one who accepts it? And you want to respect, a foul call, but who's the one who's sitting there really being vocal about it? And Elliot didn't say a word last summer. He talked a lot this summer, and he's the one who was not going to just take a casual foul without saying something, without doing something. And he was much more vocal. That shows to me that he is taking a different role. He is feeling more comfortable. He is starting to see that role change. There's not a freshman or transfer that is the Cormac Ryan this year, even the Harrison Ingram, that can step up and be a leader vocally. That's not a bad thing, but it's hard for freshmen anyway. Freshmen are just not going to take on that role. And the two transfers are good players. But I don't think either one of them are the type that are going to come in vocally and just take over. I mean, Cormac had that New York City mentality, and he was going to encourage, and he was going to yell, and he was going to be that leader. And he had been there, done that, and he was ready to take that role, and everybody was willing to allow him to take that. That's not going to happen this year. So it has to be somebody within the program, and I think Elliot's the right person.
Man, that's interesting. And one of the things I noticed, I was watching a video earlier this week of Ian Jackson being mic'd up at an event, and that dude is chirping, man. He was talking all the time. And I know it's a different type, but even just his willingness to talk on the court, even if it's not necessarily at the leadership level, just to be able to be talking at opponents and refs and, fans and whatever it is, you need that din. You need guys on defense who aren't embarrassed to talk. And so I think Ian, even though he's a freshman, might just bring some of that, like, yeah, let's talk, let's chat, whatever. And so that's encouraging to see as well. Coach, go ahead. Sorry.
So he's got some swagger that they need, the confidence that we need. And that's what his talking is. It's not nonsense. It's not out there just, trying to stir up trouble. He's just confident in what he does, and he's having fun playing. And a lot of guys need that to energize themselves. And it's been really, really good. And Drake Powell, I know a couple weeks ago we talked about him, and he's had some really good workouts this summer, has got some attention too. So those two young men are going to play a lot.
Ooh, man, looking forward to that. All that New York, New Jersey swagger in the backcourt. Coach, you're very familiar with that, being your very own stomping ground, so you love to see it. All right, speaking of Coach and his New York swagger, we got story time coming up with Coach Rob, where we get to unpack some of our great stories that he has experienced through the years at Carolina Summers Basketball School. And so we're going to get to that in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel. I love sports. I love that we've still got baseball going on. The Olympics are literally, opening ceremonies are 2 weeks away from today. Coach, I can't wait for that. But unfortunately, as the playoffs wind down, as we get into the summer, we just get fewer games. The sports just aren't sportsing like we want them to. But the good news is that FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you got to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. How about, speaking of the Olympics, Team USA basketball team, the men's squad is currently minus 550 to take home the gold. Second best odds is Canada at plus 1100. Obviously not shocking, no surprise there. Really cool to see LeBron and Seth and Cade and the whole crew going in for one more run on this thing. So if you want to get in on that action or anything else, head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Coach Rob is in the midst of writing a book about Carolina Basketball School, this summer basketball camp for the Tar Heels. This guy who's been experiencing this thing for 2 decades has stories out the wazoo, or whatever kind of phrase you want to use. I actually have had the privilege over the last several weeks to read a bunch of the chapters from it. And man, it's just so fun to dive into the history and the present and just continue to learn more about this family that exposes itself in the summer and just shows up for one another over and over and over again. I know Coach has been getting some neat quotes from various people in basketball circles to kind of recommend the book. It's really cool to see all those coming in. So, Coach, congrats on all that. Hit us with story time.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories is about my friend Mike Hefner. We became friends. He's actually an official, worked Division I, Division II, and then down at the NAI level with us. But he worked camp for years. Carolina. He's been a huge Carolina fan. Sitting in the cafeteria one day, he goes, "I got a player for you." And his dad and I have been friends for 30 years. His name is Morgan McLeod. You need to recruit this kid. Long story short, we end up recruiting him, and he comes and plays 4 years for us. Wonderful kid. Met his wife at Milligan. It was just an incredible story. 4 years later, he graduates, goes to PT school, graduate school. And back in the cafeteria, I swear we were at the same table, sitting in the same exact spots 4 years later. And I said to Mike, I said, I'm looking for an assistant coach, and just needed a part-time position, so I don't want to just do a national search. Do you know of anybody? He says, "Let me think about it." Calls me a week later, says, "Coach, I got a kid for you." His dad and I have been friends for 30 years. His name's Morgan McLeod. He's in PT school in Hickory, of course, talking about the same kid. And I said, "I thought he was going to be a physical therapist." He said he really wants to get into coaching. And we had 2 conversations at the same table about the same kid, one to recruit him to me, and then later to become my assistant coach. 3 years later, he's my full-time assistant. My college coach emails me and says, "Hey, we're looking for an assistant coach, or we're looking for a head coach to take over a small program that's just starting down here in Florida. Do you have a recommendation for anybody?" And I said, "Well, I got a guy. A friend of mine from Carolina camp has known his dad for 30 years, and we are telling the exact same story about the same kid. And now Morgan is the head coach at Seven Rivers Christian School down in Florida, and they love him down there. He's doing a wonderful job. He just became a dad not too long ago, and that's the way Carolina camp is. It's the relationship part of it, of how people get to know each other, trust each other, and just become a family. And now I've got more family because of the friends I've made at Carolina camp, and somebody that I just love as a former player of mine, and love his family. They still are involved with our program, and how many years later. So the power of friendship is just never, you can't underestimate it.
Man, folks, I don't know how to tell you. Just, it's like people you don't even know, but you don't have to know them because they're part of this family, and we're all kind of grafted into this thing, and you love to see it. So, Coach, as always, thanks for sharing that great story. And tell us the name of the college again, where he's the coach at.
It's a high school coach at Seven Rivers Christian Academy, Florida. Yeah, it's a high school program. It was starting at a school and doing well. He's really happy down there, and his in-laws have moved down there, and since they moved, the whole thing was just wild how it all just worked out for him to move down there with the family, and it's just been a really cool experience.
Gosh, I love it. It'll be fun to kind of keep tabs on that and how his teams do, and his story continues to evolve. So, folks, man, you just love to see it. Thanks, Coach, as always, for sharing that one with us. All right, gang, that's it for this week on Locked On Tar Heels. Thanks so much for diving in with us. It's great to be together as always. If you haven't subscribed to the show on audio and video, easy to do. Go ahead and hit that. If you're not part of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord family, we'd love to have you. Come for the Tar Heels, stay for the community. If you haven't done so, the link is in the show notes, and it's free to join. We'd absolutely love to have you come be part of it. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back together again on Monday, but until then, peace.